our thing. So, Royden, the NFL season has come to a close. We're now into draft prep. We'll be at the Combine, the Underwear Olympics, before you know it. And
Can't
then
wait.
Free agency. Okay, so the Eagles knocked the Chiefs off the perch, which is a good news, bad news situation.
For America, have you seen the thing that all Eagles or all Philadelphia victories are followed by financial collapse and ruin in the United States?
I did not.
Yeah.
I did not.
So somebody sent me that graphic. I don't know if
I
it's
didn't
true.
feel bad enough about rooting for the Eagles the other night.
It was like the Phillies 2008 win was followed by the recession. The stock market crash in 2018.
Okay.
So, anyway. It was a fun show, guys.
Yeah. It's a through line through that, I'll just tell you. But anyway, I'll leave that for what it is. But I'm wondering, is there a team that's about to be the Eagles? Now, and I say that knowing that nobody is better at personnel acquisition than Howie Roseman right now.
He is, but also it's like Howie Roseman is a GM if anyone that has ever played Madden is a GM. Hey, I'm gonna take the best rated players. No, duh. Why doesn't it it's like I think he's a great GM, and also he
you know why he's great?
He also takes players that are on the scrap heap of other teams or disgruntled with other teams and their tackle and traded for him, and because he's disgruntled with whatever team he was before, and quite frankly took a flyer on Jalen Carter after some concerns at following the draft. The fact that he fell to 9 was ridiculous in the first place, but regardless, he's like, whatever, I don't care, character defects and all, you can come play for the Eagles. And it's worked, but it's simply how I would play Madden if I was this guy has 5 stars, played on the Georgia defense. That seems smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, he doesn't overthink it.
Yeah.
And then he's also good at their coaching staff is also really good at getting the most out of players.
Yeah, and it's Nolan Smith didn't work out immediately, but they stuck with him, and this guy's talented. He's gonna turn into something. Zach
Bond is the story this year, obviously, and Mekhi Becton, who was a first-round draft pick off the scrap heap of the Jets, and they're like, well, we need a swing tackle. We need somebody this is good. It's value. We like this talent. He's a big dude. And then they just said well, what if he's playing the wrong position? And then they're like, yeah, let's put him at guard. And then all of a sudden he's one of the best guards in the league because you had somebody who figured out you were trying to put him in the wrong spot.
Yeah.
Which happens to a lot of players. You have somebody you think because they did this in this system in college, they're going to be a tackle. And they're he's big, gigantic dude, so he's going to be a tackle. But they built theirs trenches back, and that's where it all starts. That's why Jalen Hurts has been given so much runway to go from interesting athletic draft pick to one of the elite quarterbacks in the league because, he's had a really good offensive line the entire time he's been in the league. And they've had a really good defensive line. Their only failings have been when, Doug Peterson kind of, hit the wall with scheme and Carson Wentz and all that just didn't work out. Right? So they moved on. That's what's happened every time. Okay, Andy Reid, they just felt like he'd hit the wall. And really it was the quarterback who'd hit the wall and Donovan McNabb. They got all of them that could, and it was time to move on. And now he's gone and found the better version.
Well, there's also, it's something weird about some of these coaching things is sometimes you succeed as much as you're ever going to succead with an organization. Mm-hmm. And Andy Reid's kind of the test case for that, unfortunately. And it's he went 4-12 that last season that he was in Philadelphia, and people are like, well, why did you get rid of him? But it's at a certain point, some juju, call it momentum, whatever vibes. It's you reach a certain point of whatever success you're going to get with that franchise, and it just takes a change of scenery. And we see it with players all the time too.
Yeah. So I think because the Eagles showed you the only real way to beat Patrick Mahomes is to
check out my go-to polo from Flag and Anthem. It's everything you want in a golf polo, but you can wear it at a dinner, to a barbecue, whatever your plans are. It's extremely soft, super comfortable. Check it out, flagandanthem.com.
beat them up front. That's the only real way.
Well,
because if you blitz too much, he's going to get you.
Yeah.
So you have to – he didn't blitz at all. And they
6 sacks with 0 blitzes or something like that.
Yeah, so they didn't blitz at all. So I think that the Buffalo front office was watching that game just like –
Well,
and
what's his D'Amico Ryans had said, he's like, we were trying to – I mean, and they had injuries on the back end, like Petrie was out and like a couple of their safeties was out, so they couldn't like really cover on the back end as well as they wanted to. But they were trying like not to blitz him in that game, and he still was like – they couldn't cover Travis Kelce, which was the problem. So, yeah, their coverage schemes didn't work out on the back end. But, like D'Amico Ryans said after that game, it's like we just tried to rush for the entire time to, like, make him make throws. He ended up doing it. But, like, it's easy to say rush for when you have, like, 4 first-round picks on your defensive line. Mm-hmm. You know? Kind of like the Giants, like, how do you stop Tom Brady? Oh, well, you rush 4. It's like, okay, well, you have one of the greatest defensive lines of all time.
Yeah. So you have to build that. Like, that has to be your focus. And so the Bills, I would say that if Myles Garrett is not a Bill next year, I would be shocked because I think they will pull out all the stops to make that happen.
Yeah, it would be a great injustice if they didn't, like, trade. I mean, what are you going to trade? Like, trade the 30th pick. Trade the next year's 30th pick. Who cares? Yeah. You get the 29-year-old defensive player of the year, 30-year-old. Yeah. But, yeah, you wanted to talk about teams that are, like, if any team can be the Eagles, like, or even challenge them. Kansas City is going to have some, like, repurposing they're going to have to do. Like, Travis Kelce's got to decide if he wants to, like, continue to play football or not.
Yeah, but they just, like, they basically have to just walk around in dust. Like, there's not like it's if you had company, it would just be making sure that the towels
things
are folded.
Are in order.
Like, you've got all the old food out of the fridge and you've got stuff for them to drink, and that's all they need to do.
Yeah, but also it's like they were having their left guard play left tackle.
Yeah.
And Joe Thuney's like a really good left guard, like he's an all-pro left guard. But you can't have him be playing and then have Caliendo like not be able to pick up a stunt. You know what I mean? So I just like they have to do some work on the offensive line, and people were saying that all year. It's like one way that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to get beat is that their offensive line doesn't hold up, and Patrick Mahomes is going to have to scramble around. And he's done it to the tune of basically 15-3 this year, and it fell apart against the best defensive line in football in the Super Bowl. So they're going to really have to decide like what they're going to do, and like. It's easy to say, yeah, we just got to get a left tackle. Well, everybody needs a left tackle, you know?
Well, and, so I don't think that, I think that another year of everything they got going will be fine. Now, if they lose Kelce, that's going to be a big hole to fill, obviously.
Yeah.
But
something tells me that they'll be able to scheme open like dudes you've never even heard of.
Yeah.
In that system.
Well, I mean, look, they've resuscitated careers at wide receiver before. I mean, Juju Smith-Schuster works out nowhere but there. It's
and I mean they'll have Rashee Rice coming back, albeit off of an injury, so he may not be like ready
injury and a suspension though.
Oh yeah, that'll finally come down.
That'll probably come down. Now his people are going to be like, well, he missed all of last year, and Roger Doug's going to be like, that's cute. That's very nice legal wrangling there, but. Yeah, I think the Bills have a shot. I really like Nick Caserio in Houston. I really think that he's a guy who can figure this out when it comes to what their deficiencies are and how to properly address them. And they've got they've got a new offensive coordinator. We'll see how that works out. They're going to you're going to watch this draft, and they're going to get bigger up front on both sides. Like
my only problem is that the ability to evaluate offensive line talent is just nowhere to be found.
Yeah,
I mean, like Juice Scruggs, they took in the second round, and he has just been outworked by, especially at center. I mean, if they play him at guard, maybe he's better, but like he's just been outworked by the center they took after him. In that same draft, like late, I think in the 6th round. And then, they signed Shaq Mason to a big deal, and he fell off a cliff. I mean, he was good the first year there, but, like, he regressed to the mean, and so now you have him under contract. Mm-hmm. There was rumblings that they may trade Laramie Tunsil, which seems like a short-sighted to me personally. But, yeah, if they have the ability to actually evaluate offensive line talent, then sure, yeah. But how often do we see that like an offensive lineman comes in besides like Joe Alt and isn't immediately good their first year, and people kind of freak out about it, or isn't good through halfway through the season? Meanwhile, C.J. Stroud sacked 40 times by the bye week. So I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic about the Texans as long as, even though he had a down year, as long as C.J. Stroud's there and like D'Amico Ryans raises your floor because he's going to have the defense in order, and they got dudes on the defense, honestly. But yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic about the Texans. I don't think that they're going to take maybe the leap that everyone in Houston wants to, and I think, quite frankly, they're going to be supplanted by taking that leap by the Chargers, who they blew out in the playoffs. Honestly.
Yeah. The Chargers are interesting to me. Very interesting. I mean, year 2 of a very good coach and the new GM. Like, what can they do? Can they get Justin Herbert their weapons? And can Justin Herbert get out of his own way?
Right, and that's the whatever mental block is there. But like, if say the Cowboys don't pick up Gianti, like if he falls to the Chargers, you don't think that Harbaugh is going to like immediately leap on that?
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Like J.K. Dobbins was good, had a career resurgence, but he doesn't have the juice that he.
In the draft, you could also, like, if it's on him, like, you don't think he'd take Caleb Johnson or Amarian Hampton, or there's a lot of dudes who are bell cow running backs in this draft, and I'm very curious to see how they do. And the NFC, I honestly cannot tell you, like, who is maybe the Packers, if they can
like
keep
prime
Jordan,
to take a jump.
Prime to take is like maybe the Packers as Jordan Love, like if he plays if he's healthy all year. The Lions are right there.
Yeah, somebody said that Jordan Love has a little bit of Brett Favre in him. It's like he watched both Packers quarterbacks and was like, I'm going to try to do both. And it's like Jordan Love loves to throw an interception. Nothing more that he loves to do than just throw a bomb to a safety. And so I mean, they got to get better on the defensive end. They're pretty good everywhere else. All their wide receivers have to stay healthy for the first time ever. The Vikings are going to be right back there just because they have a great coach. Depends on what they do at the quarterback position. If J.J. McCarthy is like, if he's going to supplant Sam Darnold, who I'm sure they're just going to franchise tag at this point, right? Yeah.
Is it the Commanders? I mean, like,
no, I was gonna lead with the Commanders, but it's tough to go up from NFC Championship.
Well, like, can they? Like,
they have like the first or second most cap room already in the NFL.
It's the second. I think the Raiders have the most.
Raiders. I was gonna say like the Patriots, but like they have a ton of cap room. They're gonna get players that have like played for Dan Quinn before.
Or they're going to get Deebo Samuel.
Or they'll get Deebo Samuel, which they already wanted Brandon Ayuk to begin with. So he's going to have more weapons. They're going to probably get better on the defense because they're probably going to spend money there. Because all their games came down, it was like, can he make a play? I was going to say Jamar Chase. Can Daniels make a play to like steal a victory down the stretch? And they had 2 or 3 games like that all year, where he was just, the Hail Mary, so on and so forth. But you just have to see, does Cliff Kingsbury's offense fall off a cliff like it's been known to do when people kind of get reacquainted with what he's doing? Do people get reacquainted with what Jaden Daniels is bringing to the table, kind of like what they did with C.J. Stroud, And, like, does he have a sophomore slump? Everybody crowned C.J. Stroud. I did 2 years ago now. And then people were like, hey, if we just drop 2 safety, if we just play 2 high safeties this entire time, they're not going to be able to do anything. The difference with Daniels is that the great equalizer is that he's the fastest guy on the field too. So that's another thing. But I'd be interested to see what they do with their cap space and if they can take a leap, or if, like, quite frankly, if that luck hangs on. They were rolling on good vibes all year. What's his face isn't in the building anymore. Snyder. Yeah, John Snyder's not in the building anymore. Dan Snyder isn't in the building anymore. Everything's hunky dory. But Yeah, in the NFC, like I don't think San Francisco is going to be as bad as they were. Mm-hmm. They had injury problems, bad vibes coming off the Super Bowl loss the entire year. You know, Seahawks will kind of be right there, especially if they do something with their offensive line. I don't really have faith in like the Raiders or anything like that. I mean, they're not in the NFC, the AFC. I don't have faith in like the Giants.
No, the Giants are in the midst of a full rebuild.
Or Cowboys, like frankly.
Here's the thing. I'm not crazy about the Brian Schottenheimer hire just because they were like, you.
Yeah.
Like that's how it feels to me. But
who is in my vicinity?
Yeah. But I do like that he's
Brain. It's Brian. Brain. Come over here.
Whatever, you know. I do like it in the fact, like, do like what he's doing as far as bringing in like a bunch of fresh-faced college assistants, because the Cowboys have been running through with retread coaches for a very long time, and so he's the most retread of all the coaches, and he's never been a head coach before.
Yeah.
So while I have no faith that they'll do anything, I don't really blame the coaches anymore. It's the Jones family, but they're not. Like
they seem destined to be the most 8-9 team.
They're about 7 players away from being the Eagles. Like that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. I know that they don't think that they are, but Trayvon Diggs may not play this year. Like he re-aggravated his injury. He's got a different kind of weird thing. He may not play this year at all. Don't know who the second wide receiver is. Don't have a running back.
Dak Prescott tore his hamstring off the bone.
Yeah. Tyler Guyton's playing on the wrong side. Terrence Steele has a big contract. They're in salary cap hell. DeMarcus Lawrence probably gone. Zach Martin probably going to retire. Jordan Lewis is a free agent. I bet you dollars to donuts he signs with the Lions.
Yeah.
They had really great news with Demarion Overshone, and his knee exploded. So, like, that's not a thing. So, Eric Kendricks, the other starting linebacker, is a free agent. So, Maris Leofau is a nice little pickup, the nice draft pick, but he's the only guy who I know for sure is going to start at linebacker next year. Defensive tackle, Mozzie Smith's been a bust. Oso Odighizuwa, fantastic player, really good. Yeah, well, probably not going to be able to retain him, and he's going to go play probably for Washington, because that's what they all do.
Love it.
And sorry about I'm not sorry about screaming, but so like that, like, so have I surpassed 7 players?
I think you're at like 12.
Yeah. Deron Bland has 1 more year left in his contract. They may not be able to retain him given their salary cap situation. He hardly played this year anyway. So yeah, I think that there should be a $100 fine minimum. First time offense. And then like 500 to 1,000 like goes up every time for any big time NFL analyst. It's like, I like what the Cowboys have going here. This is something else. No. Now they might have a good draft, a draft that you like, that they pick up people, but that's all rookies. So
do you think that, I mean, okay, so like nobody's talking about the NFC South for good reason, because like New Orleans is in cap hell. Carolina still has
New Orleans just about to announce a new head coach, which
we'll talk about in a second. But like Carolina still is like 5 players away from being successful. Atlanta, who knows what's going on down there. Maybe if they start with Michael Penix during the season, they don't end up 8-9. And Tampa Bay, just good vibes with Baker hanging around. You know, they lose their offensive coordinator. But, like, just looking at the bottom tier teams, like nobody in the NFC East is going to do anything. And I don't think, like, the bottom of the NFC South is going to do anything. Is, like, Chicago the one that's primed to, like, but that's, like, the toughest division in football. Mm-hmm. Are they primed to, like, do something with Ben Johnson?
I don't know. I mean, it's going to take a minute, I think.
They also need an offensive line. Like,
yeah. And that, like, linemen are the most valuable resource. Now, Daniel Jeremiah says there's 24 starting grade defensive tackles in this draft, so that's good news. But as far as offensive linemen, it's really not that great of a draft.
No, it's not what we saw last year.
No, it's not. So